The book of Proverbs opens with a clear and gentle purpose. These are the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, given not merely to inform the mind, but to shape the heart and guide the way a person lives. Proverbs is about wisdom that can be practiced, wisdom that brings clarity, peace, and direction in everyday life. From the beginning, we are told why these words exist. For gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right, just, and fair. Wisdom is offered to everyone. To the young, it gives knowledge and discretion. To the simple, it offers prudence. And to the wise, it invites even deeper understanding. Proverbs reminds us that no one ever outgrows the need for wisdom. Then comes one of the most important truths in all of Scripture. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. This fear is not terror. It is reverence. It is a deep awareness of who God is and who we are before Him. It is humility that listens, rather than pride that resists. Proverbs contrasts this immediately by saying that fools despise wisdom and instruction. Not because wisdom is unclear, but because pride refuses correction. The voice then turns personal and tender. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Wisdom is often passed down quietly, through guidance, warning, and loving correction. These teachings are described as a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. In other words, wisdom does not restrict life, it beautifies it. The Father then gives a strong warning about temptation. He speaks of those who entice others toward violence, greed, and wrongdoing. They promise gain, excitement, and shared reward, but their path leads only to destruction. Wisdom speaks clearly. Do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths. These people lie in wait for others, but in truth, they ambush themselves. Ill-gotten gain takes away the life of those who pursue it. Proverbs teaches us that shortcuts often come at the cost of the soul. Then the scene widens. Wisdom herself begins to speak. She's no longer hidden or distant. She calls out loudly in public places, at the city gates, where people pass every day. Wisdom is not reserved for the elite or the religious. It is offered openly to all. She asks a piercing question. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? Wisdom calls people to repentance, to a turning of the heart. She promises that if they respond, she will pour out her thoughts and make her teachings known. But she also gives a sober warning. Rejecting wisdom has consequences. Ignoring correction hardens the heart, and eventually, when trouble comes, it may be too late to listen. Those who refuse wisdom will eat the fruit of their own ways. Their complacency will destroy them. But then comes a promise that sets the tone for this entire series. Whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease, without fear of harm. This is the peace Proverbs offers. Not a life without difficulty, but a life grounded in wisdom, guarded by God, and free from constant fear. As Proverbs chapter 2 begins, the voice becomes intimate again. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you. Wisdom is not passive. It must be received, treasured, sought after. We are told to turn our ear to wisdom, to apply our heart to understanding, to call out for insight, and to search for it like silver, like hidden treasure. This tells us something important. Wisdom is valuable, but it must be pursued. Then comes a beautiful promise. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Wisdom does not lead us away from God. It leads us deeper into Him. For the Lord Himself gives wisdom. From His mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up success for the upright and acts as a shield to those whose walk is blameless. Wisdom, we are told, will enter your heart. Knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you. Understanding will guard you. Wisdom protects us from destructive paths, from corrupt words, twisted ways, and moral compromise. It guards the heart, the mind, and the direction of one's life. And Proverbs 2 ends with a quiet but firm assurance. The upright will live securely, the faithful will remain, but the unfaithful paths lead away from life. This is how Proverbs begins. Not with pressure, but with invitation. Not with fear, but with clarity. Not with noise, but with a calm call to walk wisely with God. This is the foundation of resting in God's wisdom. Proverbs chapter 3 continues with the gentle voice of a father, guiding a child toward a life of peace, stability, and trust in God. The opening words are simple but profound. My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart. Wisdom is not meant to pass through the mind and disappear. It is meant to be carried in the heart. When wisdom is kept close, it produces lasting fruit, long life, peace, and well-being. The chapter then highlights two qualities that must never leave us: love and faithfulness. We are told to bind them around our necks and write them on the tablet of our hearts. These qualities shape how we relate to God and to others. And when they guide our lives, they lead to favor and a good name in the sight of both God and people. Then comes one of the most well-known and deeply comforting passages in all of Scripture. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. This is an invitation to rest. God does not ask us to understand everything. He asks us to trust Him. Human understanding is limited, but God sees the full path. When we submit our ways to Him, He promises to make our path straight. We are also warned not to be wise in our own eyes. True wisdom begins with humility, acknowledging that God's way is higher than ours. To fear the Lord and turn away from evil is not restrictive. It brings health to the body and strength to the bones. Wisdom nourishes both soul and body. Proverbs 3 then speaks about honoring the Lord with our wealth and with the first fruits of all we have. This is not about fear of lack, but trust in God's provision. When God is honored first, He takes care of what follows. The father then turns to discipline, a subject often misunderstood. He says, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline and do not resent His rebuke." Discipline is not rejection. It is love in action. Just as a father delights in a child, the Lord disciplines those He loves. Correction is one of the ways God keeps us on a path that leads to life. The chapter then shifts to praise wisdom herself. Wisdom is described as more profitable than silver, more valuable than gold, and more precious than rubies. Nothing we desire compares with her. In one hand, she holds long life. In the other, riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant, and all her paths are peace. This is why Proverbs is often described as a book of rest, not because it removes responsibility, but because it leads us into a way of living that brings peace rather than chaos. Wisdom is also called a tree of life to those who take hold of her. This image reminds us of God's original design: life rooted in trust, obedience, and fellowship with Him. The chapter then lifts our eyes to creation itself. By wisdom, the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding, he set the heavens in place. The same wisdom that formed the world is offered to guide our daily steps. The Father urges his child not to let wisdom and understanding out of sight. They will bring safety, confidence, and rest. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you sleep, your rest will be sweet. This is a powerful promise. Wisdom leads to peaceful sleep. We are told not to fear sudden disaster or the ruin that overtakes the wicked, because the Lord will be at our side. He will keep our foot from being caught in a snare. Trust in God removes the constant tension of fear. The chapter then turns outward, reminding us how wisdom shapes our relationships. Do not withhold good when it is in your power to act. Do not delay kindness. Do not plan harm against your neighbor. Do not accuse without cause. Wisdom leads to fairness, generosity, and peace with others. We are also warned not to envy the violent or choose their ways. The Lord detests the perverse, but shares his confidence with the upright. His blessing rests on the home of the righteous. The chapter closes with a contrast. The wise inherit honor, but fools inherit shame. Proverbs 3 invites us to slow down, release control, and place our trust fully in God. It reminds us that wisdom is not about mastering life, but about walking humbly with the one who already holds it all. This is the peace of wisdom, a life rooted in trust, guided by God, and filled with quiet confidence. Proverbs chapter 4 opens again with the voice of a father speaking to his children. This repetition is intentional. Wisdom is important enough to be repeated, remembered, and passed on. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. The father reminds them that he himself once received these words from his own father. Wisdom is a gift handed down through generations. It is not new or trendy. It is time-tested and faithful. The instruction is clear and urgent. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Wisdom is not something to admire from a distance. It must be pursued, held onto, and cherished. We are told not to forsake wisdom because she protects us. To love wisdom is to choose safety, clarity, and life. The Father calls wisdom the beginning of everything. Even if it costs all we have, wisdom is worth the price. When wisdom is embraced, she honors those who hold her close and places a crown of grace upon their lives. Then comes a promise of direction. I instruct you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. Wisdom does not confuse, it clarifies. When we walk in her ways, our steps are not hindered. When we run, we do not stumble. This is the stability that wisdom brings. But Proverbs 4 also includes strong warnings. We are told to avoid the path of the wicked completely, not to experiment with it, not to walk near it, not to linger. The Father urges, avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn from it and go on your way. Why such urgency? Because those who walk in wickedness lose their rest. They cannot sleep unless they do evil. Darkness becomes their normal way of life. They stumble without knowing why. In contrast, the path of the righteous is described as the morning sun, shining brighter and brighter until full daylight. Wisdom leads to increasing clarity, peace, and understanding over time. Then comes one of the most important instructions in the book of Proverbs. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The heart is the source of life's direction. What we allow into our hearts shapes our words, our choices, and our future. Wisdom teaches us to protect the heart carefully. This guarding includes our speech. We are told to keep our mouths free from perversity and our lips from corrupt talk. It includes our eyes, fixing our gaze straight ahead. And it includes our feet, carefully considering the path we walk on. Wisdom is not passive. It is attentive, intentional, and watchful. As Proverbs chapter 5 begins, the focus narrows to a specific warning: the danger of unfaithfulness and temptation. Once again, the Father calls his Son to listen carefully, to maintain discretion and preserve knowledge. The chapter describes how temptation often begins sweetly. Words can be smooth, promises can sound inviting. But wisdom reveals the end of the path before the first step is taken. The result of straying from wisdom is described clearly: bitterness, regret, loss, and sorrow. The one who ignores correction eventually looks back with pain, wishing they had listened sooner. Rather than walking near temptation, wisdom urges distance. Do not go near the door of destruction. Do not flirt with danger. Wisdom teaches that restraint is protection, not limitation. Then the chapter shifts to a positive vision: faithfulness, commitment, and joy within God's design. We are encouraged to rejoice in what God has given, to find satisfaction in faithfulness, and to walk with integrity before the Lord. The chapter closes with a reminder that nothing is hidden from God. All paths are seen. Every step is examined. Wisdom walks openly before the Lord, trusting his guidance and honoring his design. Proverbs 4 and 5 together teach a powerful truth: the path you choose shapes the life you live. Wisdom calls us to guard the heart, watch the path, and walk deliberately toward life. She does not shout in fear, she speaks in calm clarity. When wisdom is followed, life becomes steady, bright, and secure. This is the rest that comes from walking wisely. Proverbs chapter 6 and 7 continue the steady rhythm of wisdom, addressing everyday choices that shape a person's life. The tone remains calm, but becomes more watchful, urging discernment and self-control. Chapter 6 begins with a warning about careless commitments. The father speaks to his son about becoming entangled by promises made too quickly, especially pledges made for others. Words have power. When spoken without wisdom, they can trap the speaker. Wisdom urges immediate action to break free from harmful obligations, emphasizing urgency, clarity, and responsibility. The chapter then turns to diligence, using a simple and powerful teacher: the ant. The ant has no ruler or overseer, yet it prepares, gathers, and plans ahead. Wisdom praises foresight and effort. Laziness, by contrast, invites poverty quietly but steadily. A little delay, a little neglect, and scarcity arrives like an unannounced visitor. Wisdom does not shame, it warns. It reveals patterns before consequences appear. The chapter then describes the troublemaker, a person who spreads conflict through words, gestures, and deceit. This individual delights in stirring division and chaos. Wisdom makes it clear that such a path ends suddenly and without remedy. Then comes one of the most direct lists in Proverbs. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: pride, dishonesty, violence, wicked planning, eagerness to do evil, false testimony, and stirring conflict. These are not small flaws. They destroy trust, community, and peace. Wisdom exposes what God opposes so that we may turn away before harm is done. The father then returns to the theme of instruction. Parental guidance is described as a lamp and a light, something that guides in darkness and protects from danger. Correction and discipline are not obstacles to freedom. They are the path to life. As chapter 6 closes, the warning becomes specific again, about lust and unfaithfulness. Wisdom does not deny desire, but it reveals its danger when it steps outside God's design. The question is asked plainly: can a person carry fire close without being burned? The answer is clear. Certain actions always leave scars. Chapter 7 expands this warning into a vivid story. Wisdom describes a young man lacking judgment, wandering near temptation at the wrong time and in the wrong place. Darkness surrounds him, both physically and spiritually. A woman approaches, confident and persuasive. Her words are smooth. Her invitation sounds safe. She promises pleasure without consequence. But wisdom sees what the young man cannot. He follows her suddenly and without resistance, like an animal led to slaughter, unaware that the path ends in death. The image is sobering, not to shock, but to awaken. Wisdom speaks again to the listener. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. The warning is not only about one temptation, but about a pattern. Desire unchecked, curiosity unguarded, and discipline ignored slowly pull the heart off course. Wisdom reveals the truth behind the illusion. Many have fallen this way. Strong lives have been undone. The end of the path is always lost. Chapters 6 and 7 together teach that wisdom is not only about knowing what is right, it is about avoiding what is wrong before it gains a foothold. Discernment often means choosing distance, not testing strength. Wisdom invites us to slow down, to think ahead, and to see beyond the moment. It protects us from impulsive decisions, harmful patterns, and quiet compromises. This is part of resting in God's wisdom. Learning when to walk away, when to say no, and when to choose discipline over desire. Wisdom does not limit life. It preserves it. Proverbs chapters 8 and 9 bring us to the very heart of wisdom's invitation. Here, wisdom is no longer described indirectly. She speaks for herself, clearly, confidently, and publicly. Her voice rises above the noise of the world, calling out to all who are willing to listen. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? Wisdom stands at the highest points along the way, where paths intersect and decisions are made. She speaks at the city gates,